Dr. Joy Issa is an experienced educator, counselor, and passionate advocate for educational leadership in Africa. With nearly 3 decades of experience in British and American international schools across Nigeria, she holds a doctorate in education with specializations in curriculum, instruction, and assessment. She has completed advanced training at the Harvard Graduate School of Education and previously served as the president of Bawako University in East Africa. Dr. Issa is currently the Director of Marketing and Admissions at Robe School, Nigeria, and leads the Issa School of Education, a college focused on equipping African education.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a bit overwhelmed by the singing and by Mr. McLary's jokes. You know, I find him to be one of the funniest, cleanest, best comedians ever. Thank you for being who you are and for always crying on the internet. And for making, like, he should stop cooking, right? How many people, like, shouldn't he stop cooking for his children? You know, we're wondering why, you know, they're still alive. Wow. God is faithful. Thank you, Caroline, for being so consistent. God bless you. Thank you for being consistent. Thank you for looking after, you know, being passionate. Not everyone is passionate about things that won't give you money. A lot of us like side hustles that will generate a lot of income for us, but not everyone is just given to giving and contributing to nation building. So thank you. Please, let's appreciate Caroline and all our wonderful guests. Pastor Bimbo, Pastor Nee, who doesn't like to be called Pastor Nee. I remember he says he's Mr. Nee, but we know he's a Pastor Sha. Right. My time is short, so I'll go straight to the point. I'm supposed to be talking about positioning early childhood education as a national priority. If my slides are up, I will appreciate that. And I want to share 3 stories from my personal experience to help drive some lessons. Thank you. Next slide. My first story is when I was head at... So my experience is extensive. I've taught literally from early years to university. I've been doing this for about 31 years, and I love my job. I like to teach. I like hanging out with educators and, well, maybe not the early years too much, the older ones. Because the young people like to sneeze on you and say, ooh. So I'm like, go to Miss Tonya, take your germs there. But anyway, we enjoy what we do, and that's why we're here. Some of us are called missionaries to the world of education. True? Yes. Because, yes, we have zeal, we have energy, we make some money sometimes, and some other times we take that little money we have and we give back. How many of you know a teacher that has never used their personal money to do anything in class? Raise your hand. None. You continuously sacrifice. And I want you to give yourself a pat on the back and say, well done. Well done to yourself. If no one celebrates you, you can celebrate yourself. Yes, because you keep sacrificing. So this story is about this young boy. It was at assembly. And at that particular school for assembly, we would sit, you know, the children would sit on the floor, cross their legs and face forward. So this young boy crossed his leg and was sitting very, you know, nicely, like the teacher said. And this girl would lean over and be talking before the others would line up. They were the first, reception class. And this boy was just like... Eventually, the teacher came to redirect the girl, and he looked at Miss P, I shouldn't say her name, and said, Miss P, she's entering my personal space. I was standing there as head in front, and I was like, ooh, fancy, personal space, wow. But that came from their theme in class. The theme was about respect and freedom, one of those themes. And the teacher had taught them to respect each other's personal space. And this boy didn't just take it as something learned in class. When someone was invading his personal space, he was able to transfer that learning from the lesson to assembly. She's invading my personal space. I mean, I was proud of the boy for not saying she's disturbing me. She's invading my personal space. He knew the right language. Next slide. Multimedia, next slide, please. Thank you. Too many times, the public sees us as people that just mind children. Early years teachers. Oh, you just look after the kids. Or send them to, preschool. Those ones, they don't need to speak too much English. They don't need to know too much. They just mind the children. That's the perception. And then you wonder why the parents look at us and treat us like the nannies at home. Because they think because sometimes we behave in that manner. So for those who don't know me, I kind of like to shake tables a little bit. So if I shake your table, just look straight. Everyone knows you. I would like you to move this side of the divide. You're very kind. You like children. You love to play to this side of the divide. You are an architect building lives. You're laying a solid foundation so that when my grandchildren come to your school, they will get the building blocks they need to become independent adults. I'll tell you another story, I digress. Maybe 2008, I was running a session with a friend for government leaders, educational leaders, level 13 and 14 and above. And I said, my daughter at the time was 6 in one of the schools in Lekki. And she came home and said, oh, she has a project. Fossils. We need to find fossils. Miss Abba says we have to find fossils. I was wondering, please, where do you find fossils in Nigeria? But apparently, they had a project on fossils. So I opened my freezer. I'm not making this up, true story. I opened my freezer and I see newspaper. And I'm wondering, newspaper in my freezer. I open up the newspaper and I see a lizard bone, very nicely arranged. Head and like the skeleton, full. And I thought, what is this? Please, no. It's Gabby and Uncle Steve. Uncle Steve is a Gabby had 6 years old, had a project in school, dug up my garden, did not find bones, convinced a full-grown man to catch a lizard, kill it, skin it, and put it in my freezer. And she took it to school to submit as evidence of fossils for her project. I now said to them, if my daughter were in your school, would she have been able to think through that process and independently execute that project? Somebody from the corner, she was on my right, said, hey, don't do it, ha. She said, don't bother sending your child to my school because it will not happen. The opportunity to think, the opportunity for independent expression will not even be given. It will be that we are all reading about fossils, then we all draw this fossil diagram, then we all paint this fossil, worksheet, and then we all recite this fossil poem, and we've learned about fossils. The end. No differentiation, no opportunity to direct their learning by themselves. That is not the kind of teacher that we're advocating for in this place. We are advocating for the teacher that will allow for independent expression, for independent thought. Like Tonya said, I like to say it. Our goal as educators is to raise independent, responsible citizens of every nation. That is our goal. So in your class, 3-year-old Joy, 4-year-old Tonye, 5-year-old BC, who are they going to be in, like we heard, in 20 years? They're going to be the ones, the nurse with the defibrillator in your hospital. Now imagine if she has not been taught to think. What will be that outcome? Next slide. I have a question, and I need you to ask your neighbor that question, especially if they're a teacher. If Dr. Isa were to come and observe your lesson, what would I say you are doing? If Ronke Posh, where Dr. Posh was to come and observe your lesson, what would she say you're doing? Would she say you are educating someone, or you're just looking after them? Would she say you're preparing the children for real life, or they're just learning to read and write? Okay, ask your neighbor, not us now. Ask your neighbor. Seriously, ask them. Ask, if someone were to come and observe your lesson, which of these? I can hear the guilty laugh. I can hear the guilty laugh. And it's okay to feel guilty, but it's not okay to stay guilty. It's okay to feel, I can do better. So now you begin to think, what can I do better to ensure that I'm supporting and raising these independent, responsible adults in 20 years' time? Think about when the mobile phones first came out, or no, let's do ATM cards. When was the first time you got an ATM? Not those who've been abroad, in Nigeria. Anybody remember the date? 2009? Okay. Some people go a bit, some people is much later. When was the first time you got an ATM card? Anybody? 2008, 2009. Okay, about that time. So I like to tell stories. My father said to me once, my father doesn't like to fly. He's scared of flying. And so he always goes by road, and he lives in Benin, God is Good Motors. And he'll go to the park. So all of a sudden he finds out you can do it online. Then he tries it online and he phones me. Madam President, I said, yes, sir. So I'm trying to book this thing online, and I'm like, The step said this, and I'm like, They say I should put my card. I'm like, Can you put your card on it? And I'm thinking, you want me to put my card on your booking? What do you think his problem was? He said, if I put my card, those Yahoo boys will take my money. And I said, right, so does that mean they can take my money and not your money? Or what exactly is the fear here? What is the fear? What's the real fear? Anybody? I like to push people to think. He's not afraid of people stealing his money necessarily, as much as he's afraid of. He doesn't want to expose himself, but he doesn't know how to use the technology. He's afraid that I will click on the wrong button and all my money is gone. I listened to an educator once who said, please don't be afraid of breaking the internet. You can't. There's a nice button called undo. You can undo. But the fear of failure is such a limiting factor. It hamstrings us. We're so afraid that, I have to teach the way I have been taught to teach since 1945. And even though this is 2016 and there's technology, I'm not sure I want to do that because there are bad things online. But part of the problem with our limitation with technology is that we don't know what to do. But when we take the time to learn, then we can support our students as they learn. Next slide. Dr. Posh talked about the reading corners. And this story is from when I started teaching in a British school in Kaduna in 1996. I started teaching in that school. And, well, no, I started off as PA to the principal. And when you're in the office, if you started off like me in the office in that school, when somebody is absent for 2 days, oh, Joy, could you quickly? Yes. Oh, Joy, yes. When you volunteer for those positions, what's happening to you? You're learning. Thank you. That's what you tell your children to do. So the reception teacher was out, had to leave for, I think it was 2 weeks to the end of term, so I went to understudy for 1 week so I would know what to do. That's another lesson I learned. Don't just jump in. You're coming from your fancy school, you have lots of degrees. When you go to a new space, you first learn the culture before you bring in the value you have to add to support the development in that space. And the teacher had what she called rotation stations, like learning corners, so the maths corner. And in every lesson, I mean every single lesson, the children had the option of 3 activities. Table 1 would sit with the teacher and maybe do some manipulative, some practical things. Table 2 would sit with the assistant and maybe do some, it was usually in worksheets or independent work. Worksheets that needed support. And table 3 would be independent work that the children could do by themselves. 3 activities every single lesson. Not for the special lesson, every time. And it was like magic to me at that time. How the children, the little bit, ding, ding, and they would go, and they would get up. I couldn't believe it. I thought, nobody's complaining, nobody's protesting, oh, but I haven't finished. Nobody said that. Because there was structure. A routine had been pre-established, and it was very well planned. That was such a profound learning moment for me as a young teacher, to see that. Because I didn't go to school with learning stations. Yes, I went to some nice schools, yes. But I didn't have that kind of experience. And so, if I didn't see it, it would have been very hard for me to replicate it. If you went to McLary's kind of school, you might find it hard to replicate that. But what can we do instead? Technology. You can watch the videos, right? Yes. So someone said, so I won't say watch American movies like he said. I would say watch learning movies. Watch videos, watch Tony, there's so many powerful people here that share the value they add. Watch and learn. Last story. This one was a PTA story, so this story is from 2003. This time I was in Abuja, working in an American school, and I was the PTA rep, the teacher rep on the PTA. And the parents were complaining about the timetable. It's my slide up, next slide. The timetable looked like the children, this is an adaptation of the timetable, right? Yes. It looked like all the children did in school was play. How can lesson 1 will just free play? How on earth is there free play on the timetable? Why? That's not what we're paying all these millions to come and play. They were very upset. That school took time to break down, which is why I included a bit of the breakdown, to break down the activities that were tagged free play. What are some of those activities we call free play? Call them out. Can't hear you. Cutting. Sorting. Right. Okay. So it's free play. We have Lego in different colors. But in my lesson plan, what is the learning objective? Sorting. Am I sorting shapes? Am I sorting colors? Am I sorting numbers? What am I doing? What do I want the outcome to be? What do I want my students to learn and be able to do by the end of that period? And then your assessment is, how will I know that they can do it? On the timetable, what does it say? Free play. But what does your lesson plan say? Free play, sorting. And that means we can sort sticks, we can sort shoes, we can sort Lego. Whatever we have available, we can use to deliver the learning objective. If the school owners, leaders had fallen under pressure, parental pressure, we have to put 40 minutes maths, 40 minutes science. What's the other subject? 40 minutes history. You won't believe it, Caroline. There's history on some early years timetables in Nigeria. True or false? Yes. Yes, I'm telling you, it's on the timetable. Not the fancy knowledge or understanding, no, history. And then you wonder what the 3-year-old is doing. History of who? What? Can we talk about the family tree? Is that not history? So we understand the curriculum. You know your learning objective, that you're looking at the history of the family, where I come from, where I'm going to. And you use your family tree. The parents will think you are playing and cutting tree, but what are you teaching? You're teaching the history objectives. What am I trying to say? First thing, you don't have to put this traditional label on subjects to match. I'm trying to be polite. I promised myself today. No shaking tables, no. You don't need to Can we stop perpetuating ineptitude? We know it's not working, and yet we continue to replicate something that is bad. Why? You and I are the change makers. You are the end users. You are the professional, by the way. Did the parents go to NCE? Does the parent have a BSc, an MSc, or a DEDD? So why do we crumble under this parental pressure? Notes. I'll stick to my notes so I don't digress. Next slide. Next. Skip this one. How do you see yourself? Are you the professional? Are you really the professional? Is your job building lives and not just being all warm and fuzzy? If that is who you truly are, then you need to begin to do things differently. Next slide. Make your expertise impossible to mistake for supervision. Make your expertise impossible to mistake for supervision. Because there's a difference between the educator who just says, it's free play, Lego, take, and the one who understands that there's something called sorting. I want the children to know how to give me 5 to match digit and quantity. You are the one who knows these things. And so you're the one who is able to have the conversation with the parent and not just say, oh, Joy can now count numbers. Joy can now sort numbers and can match digit to quantity. Please, who sounds intelligent? Teacher B, right? If teacher B does not know the curriculum, what happens? The parent is in the position of power. And I'm a parent, right? And most of us are parents. But sometimes we parents, wow. I had a parent who tried to throw me under the bus. It did not work. School head in a school in Lekki. Oh, Mrs. Issa, are you aware of what curriculum are you people using? Because I went online and in the UK, they have upgraded the curriculum. Thank God I like to read. About a week earlier, I had just read the updates. So I said, oh, thank you for it was email. Dear Mrs. So-and-so, thank you very much for reaching out. We are aware of the curriculum changes made June 12th, 2014. And we have proceeded to inform all our teachers and they are implementing them. They have made the required changes to the schemes of work. Please continue to share any resources you have that will be helpful to us. Warm regards. If you don't know that it was changed in July, how are you going to feel? You are disempowered. Can I say, please, educators, you are powerful. You make such a difference in the lives of young people, but the problem is that we don't see ourselves as powerful people. We don't see ourselves as people of influence. That's the problem. And we inadvertently influence people as opposed to overtly, directly. You know that there's some children that begin to speak like you. Oh, my teacher says, how many of you parents have heard that? You're a teacher, but no, your standard is not good enough because my teacher said. You are the teacher who is saying. So what are you saying? What values are you sharing and communicating? That is when the government can give us value. When we don't value ourselves and we don't hold ourselves up high, who is going to come and value us? Who? We have to stand up and say, I know who I am. I understand what I'm doing. And yes, it is a small part of this child's journey. But you see this small part, it will be solid. 4 shifts we need to make. Next slide. 4 shifts that I would like to encourage us to make. Number 1, how do you describe yourself? How do you communicate what has happened in school, for example? How do you communicate that to a child, to a parent? What documentation do you have? What boundaries have you put in place? And how do you talk about yourself? Next slide. Communication. He had a wonderful day. He finished his food. In that communication book with how many of you have? We have 20 check boxes, right? And the comment, he finished his food. The nanny can tell them he finished his food. We should be telling them that Pelumi has worked out how to take turns. Pelumi has acquired a skill and is now is getting better at, has become more confident with. Tell them what Pelumi is learning in your class, what he or she is able to do. Be professional. Next slide. Documentation. Don't just take pictures of work done. Perfection is an inhibitor of innovation. Because we want everything to be perfect, some of us hold the children's hands and write in the books, and then you mark it, good work. Who did the work? Yeah, you did. How do you show progression? To say, when Joy started, it was all over the place, squiggly lines, it was incoherent. And 3 months down the line, even Joy will see the progress she has made. That's your assessment. That's your evidence. That's documentation. So this idea that you must get children to write 1 to 100, by the way, half of them, you wrote it down for them. Because we didn't even use the big fat triangular pencils. We use those skinny ones. And you know, by age 2, 3, your phalanges are still being formed. Those pencils slide off. They can't hold them. So we know that you wrote for the child. Teach the parents what you know. You are the professional. You know what should be done. Don't succumb to that parental pressure. Externally, next slide, with documentation. Please know your curriculum. We are aware that there are limitations in Nigeria concerning the early years curriculum. How many of you have seen it, by the way? Yeah, exactly. Because it is in some, what did Olori say? It's in some policy buried somewhere that we have been digging and digging, and it has not come out. I won't say more than that. But there are other people that have published curricula. Which ones do you use? Montessori, EYFS, what else? Those are the two main ones, right? Or what do you use? What else do you use? Okay, is it that you don't know your curriculum or you just don't want to say? Tell your neighbor, just tell your neighbor, what curriculum are you using? Ask them. If somebody didn't say anything, just wave your hand so I know those who don't know the curriculum. I see 1, 2, at the back, 3. Your neighbor is casting you. Please know the curriculum. You need to know when to stop, what the expectations are. You need to know that the 2-year-olds should not be writing. Can I say it again? The 2-year-olds should not be writing. You need to know that. So that when the parents come and tell you, Pelu means the neighbor down the road, she's already writing 1 to 200. That's fine for XYZ International School. But in ABC International School, we are aware of child development. We understand the milestones. And we are not just going narrow with the curriculum, we're going broad. So we're taking our time. Like Ms. Tonia said, no rush. You know that in maths, there are 4 strands. It's not just number, calculation. What else do we have? You know there's shapes and measure. You know there's data handling. What else? One more. There's number patterns, and then there are calculations. In Nigeria, the square root of 72 times something. Ha! That's calculation. But if I ask you to do a quick survey here of what is the likely outcome that red will be the favorite, that pink is the favorite color of women. How do you solve this problem? What is the likely outcome that pink is the favorite color of women if we survey the women in the room? How do we start solving this problem? Even for us in this room, what do we have to do? Think. We then discuss, okay, what strategies do I need? How do I solve it? You know that for 4 and 5-year-olds, ask them, what's your favorite food? And then you use those same Lego blocks, and you put rice, chicken, meat pie, amala, whatever, and you start to build the visible bar graph. And then you have, in your maths corner, decoration already there. And it happened via conversations. They didn't have to use a worksheet. They had conversations and they built visible blocks. Learning. Authentic learning practices. Last one, next slide. Notice how I nicely skipped calling the names of people, but it's on the slide so you can read it. Boundaries. I've said parental support so many times. Please do not let the parents put you under pressure you should not be under. Some things should be done at home. For example, if your school is not a religious school, why are you the one to teach the child how to pray? That's their job. That is not our job. If your child does not include a daycare, why are you the one potty training that child? If your school does not include a daycare, why are you the one? Exactly, see? No, I know. Because they put you under pressure. My child's not potty trained. What are you doing? That's your job. That's not the teacher's job. If you don't have clear boundaries, if you don't put these things down, I'm telling you, you become the warm, friendly face, and you're not the architect building lives. Last one, self-talk. You are delivering quality education. You are not just playing with children. Can you say to someone, I'm an architect of life? I don't just play with children. If you have to write that down and say it to yourself every day until you believe it, you should. You don't just play with children. You are building lives. You are making sure that that boy can say, stop invading my personal space, as opposed to pushing the girl away. Because that's an option some people will do. They just shove you. Where did they learn to shove? Somebody shoved. Where did the boy learn to say, stop invading my personal space? Somebody taught him. Next slide. Which of these shifts do you think, next slide please, which of the 4 shifts that I shared, which of them do you think will be hardest for you to make? I need you to make a note of that. Which one will you set as a target for yourself and say, right, by the end of this conference, I need to have a vision. I need to put a confession on my wall and reprogram my mind so that I stop thinking in a certain way. Or, maybe I need to be a bit more thorough with my documentation. I need to read more about this EYFS Montessori thing that they are saying. I need to understand it. I need to take a short course. I need to sign up for mentorship. I need to read a book. Whatever it is, I need to upgrade my thinking and my practices. Which one? Make a note and set a target. Next slide. Skip that one. Next slide, yes. When we speak about national priority, before we get to the national priority, what do we need to do first? Nobody can take you where you haven't been here first. Nobody can make you this germane, amazing public speaker if you have not stood in front of the mirror and talked to yourself. Nobody can tell you you look lovely today when you do not believe it. True or false? Yes. And so, sorry guys, but when guys think women get dressed for you, nah. We dress up for ourselves. If I look good, don't care what you think, who you are, I believe it. And if I don't look good, it doesn't matter how expensive what I'm wearing is. So the problem is here. Are you an architect of life? Are you a builder as an early years practitioner? And if you are, then you begin to read the policy documents. Then you begin to advocate for child protection and child safety. Then you contribute to authentic discourse around raising children. And so in your school, in your community, in your estate, in your organization, NGO, religious, it doesn't matter. Your voice becomes heard. You cannot ask for a seat at any table if you have nothing to say. One. Number two, even if you have something to say, if you don't open your mouth and say it, nobody will know that you have something to say. It amazes me when people walk up to me and say, Mrs. Issa, because of you, I did this. The one that shocks me is when the boys, you know how we think this boy, God, you stress my life. I'm like, oh, hi, Mrs. Issa, how are you? I'm like, oh, and they're all tall now, and I'm looking up, saying, oh, meet my wife. And I'm like, wife? Who married? Because, we remember the children who stress us. Wow. Some I don't remember, but when I'm like, this face, there was one I was like, this lip, there's a scar there. There's a child that used to talk too much that had that. Is it you? And he's like, yeah, it's me. I'm like, wow. Or you're walking down the road, Mrs. Issa, you're wondering. And, a parent comes to you and says, thank you for what you did for my children. Thank you for giving them the confidence to speak up. Those plays, we put the children out for them to recite the nursery rhymes and to do something in production. We keep looking for perfection. You're supposed to be fanning the flame. You're supposed to be unearthing the skills, the public speaking skills. You're supposed to be giving these wonderful children the opportunity to learn. Perfection is a problem. And those of us in early years, we need to get rid of that word. Throw it away. We are not looking for perfection. We are looking for progression. Tell your neighbor, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for progression. Next slide. Progress is what we should measure. Remember the story, personal space, minding my personal space. You are not just a caregiver or a carer. You are an architect of life. So think beyond care. Understand the value you add to society. Understand that the children need that solid foundation. You know that if I don't know that addition, if I can't do what did you show us? Number boards. If I can't break up 10, for example, into 5 and 5, what's the next one? 4 and 6, next. 3 and 7, next. 2 and 8, next. 1 and 9. By the time you're asking me to add 142 times, plus 57, but if I understand that I can break things up and partition them into groups and add them and bring them back, you've helped me. So before you start layering multiplication on 5-year-olds, please, you have no business multiplying nothing in early years because you have not finished repeated addition. You have not finished how much more, how much less, 2 more, 2 less, between numbers 1 to 10, and then you're going to 100. If I don't know what number comes after 32? 10, 20, 30, 1, 2. They can't just tell you. They can't say 33 because 3 comes after 2. Doesn't make sense. You are not just a caregiver. You are a builder. You are an architect of life. Please take yourselves seriously. Develop the expertise you need to help the rest of the train, primary, secondary, university, help us raise a nation of independent, responsible adults. Thank you very much.